Good afternoon, beloved community. I am Melissa Miller, host of The Chosen Heroes. I am so grateful to be here today. We have a special guest, Sterling Battelle, and it's a real honor and privilege to speak to our beautiful community. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And as some of you may know from previous podcasts, when my targeted journey began, the powers that do these evil things, tormented her as well. And she passed several years ago. So I do what I do in her memory and her honor. And so I want to kick off with our targeted justice news for the week. We have had such an incredible week of things coming through. So I'm going to play the news video right now.
It's that time again for the Targeted Justice newsletter, the video edition. May 11th, 2025.
What were you told at the time of your father's death?
I was told that your father has had an accident. But that was the cover story, told by the CIA.
Check out this bone-chilling Netflix documentary about MKUltra, Wormwood. It's a 6-part miniseries, and what most people do not know, that this illegal CIA program was never shut down. James Comer, chairman of the House Government Oversight Committee, presses DoD, VA on the Havana Syndrome care for federal employees. Go to the following link for more information. Targeted Justice monthly meeting has been rescheduled for this month to May 17th at 9 a.m. in the Onion Creek restaurant. Aww. Because the board members of Targeted Justice are currently in Washington, D.C. fighting for our freedom. This week, they have visited over 170 offices. They had meetings with attorneys, legislative assistants, and intelligence analysts. They discussed the possibility of holding hearings and other investigative steps. Their reaction to their evidence was stunned and surprised. They had heard of Havana Syndrome, but not anything behind it. The Targeted Justice crew are planning on having follow-up conversations with their new contacts. Please be patient while they continue these discussions. Keep in mind that there are 435 congressmen and 100 senators, so they still have much work to do. They are leaving D.C. with hundreds of contacts in both chambers. Targeted Justice intends to return to Washington, D.C., so we can continue this effort. Stay tuned as we provide more details. This is what you can do to help. Representative Luna introduced the legislation to repeal the USA Patriot Act. This bill is important for targeted, law-abiding citizens, aka TIs. The American Privacy Restoration Act. A repeal of the Patriot Act will substantially curtail or end gang stalking and illegal break-ins. We ask you to contact your congressman and encourage support for this important bill. Congressional support of Representative Luna's bill could shut down the program. Calling all digital warriors. Please share, repost, copy and paste this video and the text of this newsletter onto Twitter, Facebook, Truth Social, TikTok, etc. They will block it if you just post the link. We are still looking for volunteers. Let us know how you can help. What skill sets do you have? Write to tjustice2@proton.me. Put volunteer in the subject line. You can watch targeted justice videos on Rumble by going to the following link, https://rumble.com/user/real targeted justice/channels. Please consider donating. Targeted Justice is nonprofit. The donations are tax deductible. Go to either https://pay.cornerstone.cc/targetedjustice or https://www.patreon.com/targetedjustice. You can also send a check to Targeted Justice, P.O. Box 15990, Houston, Texas 77220. Buy some cool gifts and t-shirts from Targeted Justice store by going to https://targeted-justice.printify.me/products or https://www.bonfire.com/store/targeted-justice-products. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. God bless.
I just love those videos. They're just so energizing, and what great content. Targeted Justice being in DC for over a week, talking to all the people that they did, potential hearings coming forward for us so that our voice is really going to be heard. So we just need you to write the representatives and stuff. Keep the fans of truth and awareness fanning forward. We've got to do our part, and we need to take action. And we must all unite in prayer for God's hand to be over Targeted Justice and those that they spoke to. Let the light be from the seed that they presented with the information and the evidence of the torture that is being done against us. Let God be the fertilizer that activates that seed within them to take action, to really let there be this uncomfortableness coming over them, because they cannot think of anything else other than they need to join in and help all of the innocent civilians that are being attacked by this technology and these programs. I'm going to give a shout out to Target Source LLC. Armando is the inventor of the Silent Night, and he has some great devices. And I use the Silent Night daily at nighttime. I encourage you to reach out with any questions you might have and regarding his technology at targetsourcellc.com, or send an email to silentnight.source@gmail.com. I also want to give a shout out to tievents.org. Tranquility does an amazing job of organizing all that is TI-related events for our community. You literally have so many options to just plug in and connect. Remember, isolation is what these programs thrive on. They want you to be isolated. You need to be with community that understands and is speaking that language and knows everything that you are going through. Please stay plugged in. tievents.org is your one-stop shop for everything going on within our community. So I have some upcoming guests that I'd like to announce next week. Harold Brems, who is with Targeted Justice. He is the VP of Europe. He is going to give a talk for us, and it's going to be great. He is so detailed, and I know it's going to be a wonderful episode. On May 25th, it is tentative, but I'm hoping to get confirmation. It may be a different date, but Major Jeffrey Prather, who is a former Special Operations DIA intelligence collector and DEA special agent whistleblower. He has his own podcast, and he'll be a guest on The Chosen Heroes. On June 1st, Enzo Giancarelli, who is a retired administrative captain for the Sheriff's Department in New Jersey. He's got a very compelling story, and he is targeted. He stumbled on some things and was heavily attacked as a result of that. On June 15, Minister Julia Thompson is it's going to be a really uplifting conversation. She is an absolute delight. She loves the Lord, and she was going to sing some songs of worship for us as well. It's going to be great. She is targeted as well, and she's just really, really a positive, uplifting. You can tell the anointing is on her, and the calling that God has on her life. I wanted to give a shout out to the next bi-weekly working sessions that I have with the teleconference with Jamie Rice for the Targeted Individual Combat Training series. The next one is on May 24th at a new time at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I also wanted to state, because of Targeted Justice being in DC this entire week, just hitting the pavement and working hard for us. Nobody's working hard to make a difference and to shake the tree of awareness with these government officials other than Targeted Justice. So I'm just in awe and applaud their efforts for this week. They really took the bull by the horns and got out there and in front of those officials. So we are having, usually it's the second Saturday for the Texas TI meetup. So this one was postponed a week to May 17th. So this coming Saturday will be the Texas monthly meetup. I am looking for volunteers. I have Sean, who does an amazing job on all the video content and the teaser videos for the and the recap videos for the Chosen Heroes. I would love to get connected with musicians and anyone else that would like to do research. I do have another person that is doing research, and his name is Eric, and I'm so thankful for him. But again, if you'd like to pitch in, send me an email at chosen_heroes at proton.me. And I'm just going to do a quick little, all the different channels that I'm subscribed to on social media is up on the screen. Before we get to our very special guest, Sterling Battelle, I wanted to do a campaign for Protect the Protectors. Because what is coming out more and more is those that are first responders, veterans that, lay their lives on the line, leave their families to come and help others around within the community. And they are being attacked. And it seems more and more are coming forward. And Sterling is just one of many examples that are coming forward with being attacked in those positions. And so their voice, we want it to be heard. So let me go ahead and I'm going to play the PSA that we created this week. It's out on X. Some of you are not part of X, so I wanted to make sure that you saw it.
First responders. These courageous men and women, putting their lives on the line, every day and every night, taking time away from their families to make sure that ours are safe and sound. When they are in uniform, we know who they are, what they've done, loved by their community, and respected by the government. So if that's true, why are there certain individuals within the government making an effort to destroy them? People have been reporting that they are being stalked and monitored, experiencing multiple symptoms of pain, pressure, and a burning sensation in their head or body. Their ears ringing, buzzing sounds, and even audible voices. If this sounds like you, then you are being proxy-stalked and targeted. The good news? You're not alone.
Yes, it is a progression because there are indications from people who have been hit with these psychotronic weapons and directed energy weapons that this has been going on for decades. I've spoken to people who claim to have been targeted for 20, 30 years. And
weekly basis. Karen, for years, I apologize to those of you who have written me for years. Sometimes I used to ignore them because I used to think, oh, they just need psychological help. But the amount of people has increased so much in the past few years, I don't ignore them anymore because I've done enough radio programs about this subject that now I can see that this is happening. And the question is, why? I mean, some of these people are regular, normal people. Some of them have, and apparently they do this to just say, oh, they're crazy, so that they're completely out of the, can we call it society? So they lose their constitutional rights by saying that they're not capable?
Yes, I mean, they're using the psychological false attack in order to keep them from getting help from the police, which is questionable to begin with, but also to keep them from getting help from family and friends because they write them off as crazy.
I worked for DARPA on projects for the CIA, and then I got shuffled around as a scientist.
Could you tell us what DARPA is?
Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, where all the top secret research goes and ends up referred to as mind-controlled weapons called V2K that can pipe voices into someone's head as a non-lethal weapon that resonates the dopamine cells of your brain, and it floods it.
Floods your brain with dopamine?
Yeah, dopamine dump. That incapacitates the adversary. A few of the targets were interim candidates. I tried to speak with Senator Clinton. She wouldn't talk to us because someone was hearing her voice. They believed she was the one torturing. They're called programmed assassin. And so if you're programming someone to go after, let's say, a political target, all you have to do is use voice morphing, pipe in the tortures, the pains, and 24 hours, you'll drive the person crazy and they'll want to kill and stop the pain. You play a 2-tape loop, your mother hates you, blah, blah, they're brainwashing. So they were trying to wipe the brain clean so they could rebuild new memory. It was funded by the CIA. How could you disable a person, making them dysfunctional? That would be scrambling their brains. That'd be dopamine dump, affecting their nervous system so they drop on the ground. So it's a combination of psychological warfare as well as directed energy weapons, along with the voice of God weapons with voice and morphine. It's the most complex weapon system we have put together ever as a species.
Brain pressure to the head, teeth, torso, and the body. And it can be very uncomfortable. People start screaming and having, really, it's inescapable, intolerable pressure pain that isn't people just don't have a reference point to compare it with.
First responders are slowly coming to the forefront and exposing these evil acts. You do everything that you can to protect us, so now it's time for us to return the favor. The host of the Chosen Heroes podcast, Melissa Miller, is starting a PSA known as Protect the Protectors. We want to provide you a platform for your voices to finally be heard. You can contact Melissa by emailing her at chosen_heroes@proton.me. Please reach us so we can unite and give us the opportunity to protect our protectors.
Amen. More and more people are just going to start coming forward. I can feel it. God is moving those mountains. And speaking of God, I feel really led to do prayer. Our Rumble channel is down. I think Rumble was having issues yesterday too, but it did not connect. But don't fret. I am recording this podcast and I will get it up, loaded to our Rumble community. We will not let any setbacks, defeat us. So we're going to keep on moving forward. So I'm going to lead into some prayer. Holy Spirit, break out, overcome us with your presence. Heaven, just come on down, wash over our lives and our homes. Let your anointing oil flow within every area of our lives. Let us be overwhelmed with your presence. Enter our heart, break our walls down, move the mountains and obstacles in our path that prevent us from our healing. We surrender it all to you. We ask our ego and our will to step aside so that only your will can be done. Wash over our pain and suffering, liberating us. Let us know what it is like to have your presence covering in all areas of our lives. Let everything we do be a reflection of you, Father God. You heard our calls from the wilderness. You navigate us through the storm. You cover us with your protection. You ordain our action and next moves. You guide us with your loving presence in the days ahead. You, loving Father, go before us and stand behind us. You are our greatest protector and our defender. Your calling is on our lives, and no Goliath or wickedness can stay camped in your presence. No technology, no systems, no frequencies can prevail over you. No words, manipulation, schemes, and agendas can take authority over our lives. All deceptions crumble and turn to dust. The wicked had no clue what they touched when they decided to touch your anointed. You are the judge, the jury, and prosecutor over all darkness that comes against your chosen ones. We expect the supernatural in your presence, the hidden revealed, the impossible made possible. Your divine order unfolds, and we will bear witness to your plans. We will be victorious. We stand on your promise. The wicked will become dry stubble scattered in the wind. We rejoice in your presence, Father God. We feel your holy fire. We stand on your word as we watch it all unfold. The awe, the mystery unfolding right before our eyes. Paths coming forward never thought possible. We are on a comeback. We reclaim our divine birthright and our mantle. No one of this earth shall rob us what you have declared over our lives. Amen. So without further ado, let's bring on our very, very special guest, Sterling Battelle.
Hello.
Hi, Sterling. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I sincerely appreciate it. Opportunity to kind of get my story out and kind of how some of this stuff works.
Absolutely. And so you currently reside in Topeka, and you've been a firefighter for 6 years.
About 6 years now, yep.
And then the targeting began in 2023 after you met a female.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing how people can, they have these lures that are people to kind of, enlist people into this torture. So can you tell us where it all began?
Well, it was, I'd say late 22, early 2023. Kind of the same situation. My mom had died a year earlier from metastatic breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a turbo cancer. She got it and it just spread everywhere. After that, I was in a position where I was buying my first home and was working at an agency full-time and another agency part-time. And lo and behold, I met this female on Facebook dating. So word of the wise, stay off Facebook dating. And unfortunately, I fell into a situation of addiction with this person. Did not last long. I've dealt with that. I've been sober for a long time now. Lindsay Penn, she had the victory through V2K I've been on. She kind of talks about learning how to cope with shame and things from your past. When it comes to addiction, we're all human. We make mistakes. Things happen. But it progressed rather rapidly after meeting this gal. She had kind of fed me the story that she was going to lose her house. And I was like, okay, well, come and stay with me till you figure it out. Lo and behold, further down the line, I figured out that very much was not the case. And it wasn't too long after that, I started doing some weird things. I noticed that she was hiding, like I found a Google Nest that she had hid, and it was plugged in and on, and it was obviously supposed to be hidden. So I unplugged it and didn't say anything. I noticed she came in trying to off-puttingly like get it one night, and I kind of side-eyed her and heard her go, "Oh, SHIT." Like she figured out that I found this. I was like, well, that's really weird. I don't know why she's doing this. Mm-hmm. Not too much longer after that, I noticed she started going through all my old cell phones. And it was just weird. I asked her what it was about, and I would get incoherent responses and just kind of nudged off.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't too long after that the gang stalking or proxy stalking started. It was, in this program, when they start that, they want to shock you,
Yes.
traumatize you, make
Mm-hmm.
it so they can grip onto you.
Yes.
Really get in your head.
Yeah, make you paranoid with all
Right.
of that. Yeah, make you second guess yourself.
Second guess everything. So I was getting the street theater. I was getting the random vehicles with the brighting. And I had asked her, I was like, are you involved with like something I don't know about? Like
Yeah.
drugs or gangs or like what is going on? And really didn't get much of a response.
Mm-hmm.
Just kept.
Did you confront her about the nest?
No, I never did. I don't know why. I think that just kind of slipped my mind as, because whatever was going on.
Because you had a lot of other things going on with the proxy stalking and
Right. I couldn't comprehend. That was, I think at that moment in time was the last thing on my mind. This is all thinking back hindsight in this program. You're like, oh, that makes sense now. Or, oh, that makes sense. You can start kind of putting the puzzle pieces together. So it kept going, and it got to the point where I was like, you got to go. Like, I'm not sure what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Are you involved with this or whatever, but you've got to go. You got to leave my house and we're done. At that point in time, it was so intense. I left my house, and that the agreement we kind of had was get your stuff out of my house.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know when it's gone, and I'll stay at the firehouse in the meantime, because it was pretty crazy. So shortly after, it took her like 2 weeks to get her stuff out. Shortly after, I was at the firehouse in the Bay one night, and she had given me a phone call. And on this call, I was still getting the proxy stalking and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me, and I was like, what in the world is why is this still continuing? Like, if you put me in some kind of crazy position, like, what are you involved in? She proceeded to tell me that the only reason I was still alive was because of her, which I didn't quite understand that. And then she proceeded to tell me that her ex-husband was very much involved. She said his plan was to frame me and or set me up. And by this time, I was starting to get all the hacking, the mail tampering, all the stuff that comes with it. The most, the physical stuff, like actually breaking into your home, all that stuff. They were breaking into my car.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of spilled the beans. She didn't say what the program was. She just said, my ex has everything to do with this, and this is his plan. She then proceeded to leave me a list of specific people that were involved in this, that were coworkers, businesses here in Topeka that were involved, a couple websites, and things of that matter. After that, I didn't speak to her or see her for over a year.
Wow. So she just drops all of that. She claims that you're alive because of her.
Only reason. That's what.
And so did she ever say how it was that her ex knew about you? Or is it because of his position, he already knew you and your involvement with her?
So what she had told me about him, she said he had, I don't know this to be true because I haven't researched it, only a little bit of it. She said he had some immediate family that was in the government, and that this person's mother also worked for the court here in Topeka, and that she had left him 5 years prior. I won't get into the details about, their marriage or whatever, but that he had the same thing done to her because she left him. Not 100% sure how I got pinned down, but I'm fairly certain that from what I've pieced together is that this gentleman used her to basically as a honeypot to come in and try and frame me or set me up. And, everything that comes with the program, the proxy stalking, like I said, financial sabotage, workplace sabotage.
Didn't you say in our conversation before that you had stayed at the fire station when all of this, madness was going, just kind of, taking a reprieve from all the activity that was going on at your home. And when you came back to your home, things were different in the house.
Yeah. That was kind of what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Came back to my house and all my whole electrical grid on my house, all my electrical had been redone. All my electrical sockets, all my light switches were different. Someone had painted. It was obvious to me. I had taken pictures of everything before I moved in. So, comparing the two. Also, I went to my basement. My basement was torn up. My foundation it was pretty wild.
Wow, foundation?
My whole foundation, my whole basement, digging in all kinds of crazy stuff. I even took pictures of my basement and I texted it to the gal that I bought the house from because there had only been one previous owner before her, and that was her who had it for like 40 years. I sent it to her and I was like, this wasn't like this, right? Just to get
confirmation, because it's just so bizarre that something so drastic.
Right. And she was like, absolutely not. That was definitely not like that. And it's still like that to this day. I had sent an email. I was kind of referred to send an email to the detective from my district. And I did that twice. And the only email I got back was someone will be in touch with you within 48 to 72 hours. Of course, that never occurred. Still to this day, kind of wonder what was going on there. I had some thoughts about what my ex was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean, because of that connection with her is how all of this began. And
right.
It seems like some, vicious, malicious attack from whoever the ex was. And
Correct.
She claims it when I'm assuming that when you started giving the description of, okay, what is going on here? I'm suddenly having all of this activity. Are you involved with something? And she was denying it at the time and then decided to come clean with it.
Right. And that was, like I said, the last time I'd spoken to her.
Mm-hmm.
So after I'd spoken to her in the bay that evening, I was at work and I got on the Google machine and I put in stalking, gang stalking, and up came this this interview that this independent journalist from Seattle had done with what I'm going to say is a CBA agent here in Topeka. This is back. It was dated back to 2016. I think it's still accessible. I have copies of it. And this independent journalist literally interviewed the CBA agent who was like, yeah, we do the proxy stalking. We get we get the names and we harass these people, and the hope is to get them jailed, mental institution, or unalived. And it states this in the interview. You can take it at will. So I printed out that interview because I was getting gang stalked at work. I was even getting gang stalked while we were responding to calls, which is insane.
That is.
I took it to a higher up, and it kind of fell on deaf ears. And then time went on.
And do you think that it fell on deaf ears because perhaps they were approached and maybe they were forming together to just try to silence what was happening? Maybe they were approached by the person who put you on the list, or a narrative was stated to them for them to reject and not support the things that you were saying to them.
I think it fell on deaf ears because they're involved.
Mm-hmm. Because are you comfortable with the title of the person that the ex has, the one that the lady and her ex, and what role he plays?
My understanding from what he did for a living is what she told me is that he taught classes at the university here. Okay, and this is kind of how it's going to come together. She told me he was real good with computers and hacking and things of that nature. So at the university here in Topeka, right next door on the same campus, literally right next door on campus, is the KBI building. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's common knowledge here that these classes at this university work hand in hand with the KBI here in Kansas, in Topeka. So how this works is somebody reports you for something to the FBI through letter agency,
Mm-hmm.
one or two people send your name in. That gets run, as we know, through the FISA court, which there's no oversight, and the overreach on that is crazy. So if that goes through, it goes through DHS to the fusion centers. And we have a fusion center in Kansas City. That's big. There used to be one here in Topeka too, but I think that's gone now. So whatever gets thrown through these FISA warrants, people, one or two people can make up whatever they want about you. You don't even really need evidence. Someone could be upset with you over something. A million different
things. They just do it because they can.
Right. So they feed it through fusion centers, and then fusion centers work with law enforcement. And particularly here in Shawnee County, they have something called the Citizens Academy. Okay. And it's like Neighborhood Watch. Citizens can sign up for it. LEO will vet you, whatever, and you go through these classes. Well, these Citizens Academy, it's like the Neighborhood Watch, right? It's your neighbors, it's civilians, and this program has become so rogue that these people go through the Citizens Academy, or the COPPS program. There's actually different rogue factions of people that gang stalk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. My assumption is that through Citizens Academy, through LEO, through fusion centers, they get these contracts on people. It could be a revenge contract. It could be a lot of different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
With these rogue groups take these contracts, and that's, I guess, maybe in where their mind the fun begins. The smear campaign, the stalking,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And it's not just here. I'm not saying that's necessarily how it works everywhere, but I know here in Topeka that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's for profit, which is crazy illegal. Yeah, it's some nasty stuff. I've gone for my own self. I emailed the AG, Chris Kobach, or the AG office here first, and they told me you need to contact LEO here in town regarding the proxy stalking and stuff. And then I sent a cease and desist letter to the AG's office, and then I sent a cease and desist letter to Fusion Center in Kansas City to Justine Franks, who is the director. Did it by certified mail.
Mm-hmm.
They can't mess with everything like they do, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to follow up, make sure it goes through. But my certified mail is the only thing that's worked mail-wise in the last 30 years for me. But yeah, these rogue groups, whether it's Neighborhood Watch or whoever they are, some of these groups kind of, I've been able to tell that they identify each other out in public with, here in Kansas, they have brown personalized tags. And I notice when I'm getting street theater and stuff like that, it's always my situation. I'm dealing with long enough and I know what's going on. I know who the people are. I know their faces. I know their cars. I know a lot of people get the out-of-state license plates and things like that, which I think they switch out and do it on purpose just to confuse the target and things like that. But it's here. It's run through, like I said, the Fusion Centers, through the Citizens Academy. The biggest thing about here is there are definitely firefighters involved. Okay. I know firsthand because coworkers have dealt with the gaslighting. I've dealt with all that stuff for a long time. I've been mobbed out of work. I left my agency I'm with now only part-time because I left the other agency due to work mobbing. I left this other agency I'm with part-time now. I left there full-time and went to work on an ambulance. And that was just as bad. I was getting, mobbed at work. It's just nasty and it's ugly, and they're definitely involved. And that's the thing that's really bad about this is these are people I'm saving lives with. Okay?
Right. Responsible for saving lives, but yet tormenting and terrorizing another.
But they want to, in my opinion, take mine. I very much think that they were probably under the impression that when this started for me that I wouldn't make it through this.
Right.
I know of personally examples where I'm at. I won't say names by any means, but I know of situations with people, acquaintances, and even other firefighters that are not with us anymore that I very much think fell victim to this program. I've been on calls, as I've done my research and I've understood how the program works and when people are doing things. I've been on calls and on scene with people where I'm like, I can tell that they're a target and they're being gaslit and manipulated, and it sucks. I have to sit there and watch it. And
some of these fallen ones, did they report anything like directed energy or auditory effects? Did they have other symptoms other than the stalking and the hacking and property damage?
I never heard about the DW from these people. The couple I can confirm. One was an acquaintance of mine who unfortunately committed suicide about over a year ago. God bless his soul. I was talking to an acquaintance we both had between each other, and I kind of asked him. I said, "Well, what was going on with him? He was having a hard time. He's a vet, PTSD, drinking and stuff like that. So what was going on?" His friend was kind of like, man, I don't know if he was losing it or what, but he said he thought people were surveilling him and following him, and he said all of his devices were hacked. And, the bell went off in my head. I was like, well, Huh. Not too long after that, I know of another paramedic here in town who was teaching at the university here. And I had heard through the grapevine, because I'm sure it's part of a smear campaign, but this actually occurred. So she was teaching a medical class at this university, and she had locked herself in her office and said the same thing. I'm being surveilled. All my devices are being hacked, and like lost it at work. So they let her go. It's happening here. I think the biggest thing is that looking back on the suicide rate with first responders and LEO and sheriff, people working on ambulances, now that this is being exposed and it's coming out, what percentage of those people might have been in this program and just kept their mouths shut?
And it makes you wonder why they were being gang stalked and targeted. Did they maybe witness something? Because with first responders, where you have multiple, entities that come out on a scene, could they have personally seen something that was overlooked or a corner cut? Let's say it was an ambulance driver and they saw not the proper, chain of events being done by police, maybe some rough housing by the police. It could have been just something as simple of them saying, hey, why are you doing this to this person? And then, then there goes the order to be, this could come back on us, and to gaslight them and stalk them from just, speaking up. There's just so many things that could lead up to these events, and you have to wonder, is it because I know in my case it was because I wasn't the type of person to look the other way when I was seeing injustices that would harm others, and so then that's all it took. Right. Because I wanted to announce my findings. So I think I think what is coming more and more, at least into my awareness, is the amount of different groups that are involved with the programs.
Right.
So it falls under, I think it contributes to the invisibleness of, the law, recognizing it, because they farmed it out to these other groups. And it just seems more and more popular, or not popular, but it is coming to fruition. It's coming to light that there are these organized groups.
Yes.
Like you said, Citizen Corp, Neighborhood Watch.
Yep. Like here in Topeka, it's actually called Citizens Academy. They put
Citizens Academy, yes.
All done under the guise of community policing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't entail, this isn't just your neighbor sitting outside seeing something, saying something. They're getting all the info they want on you. They're going to your families. They're lying to your families to try to get them to turn against you.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to people you may have wronged in the past or don't like you so much to try and get involved.
Right, buy-in. Mm-hmm.
They'll dig up everything on you. And like I said, I've done my smear campaign. And I forgot to mention this earlier. When my smear campaign started, I was actually at work, and I was told by a higher up from me that my ex at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night went to a firehouse that I don't work at and told them personally that I was trying to kill her.
And this is the same woman that was connected to where all this began.
Right. I don't take that lightly. And as you can imagine, I'm sure word got around pretty quick. got to me. And then I started hearing things here and there. And she was calling me a pedophile. I mean, they'll throw it out there. Anything, absolutely.
To get more buy-in from others to turn them on you, and it's misinformation.
Right.
The society just doesn't, when somebody hears something like that, it is so amazing how people will just automatically receive that as truth without doing any research. Why not come to the person that this was said about and just confront them about it? But that's not how people are. They will just take something and run with it.
Right. And especially if you're getting gift cards or money.
Yeah.
To
look the other way. Yeah.
And it's.
I think with the people that were involved with my gang stalking, because all the mobbing and everything started when I was still employed by this company. I think that they feel like they're really special. Oh, wow, we get to do this kind of investigation and we're helping. And they're you're taking mediocrity is what I call, because nobody could ever turn me to do something so heinous to another person in such a juvenile sandbox manner of how they operate with their gaslighting and their, smear camming. They were saying things about me that was not even true. Like, I sent a global email out, they had already been hacking my machines and everything. And then they went on to state that I stole something. Really? I don't think so. There's cameras everywhere. There's no evidence that there would ever be that I ever took anything. So again, but people will take that misinformation and run with it. And then the other flip side of it is, do they feel that if they do not participate, that it will happen to them? Exactly. So I tried to think about all the different scenarios of how somebody could be so gullible and get involved with doing something so heinous to another person.
Sure. And I'm sure there's situations where they'll extort people and be like, well, if you don't do this, then I'm going to
it's going to happen to you.
Yeah. It's pretty disgusting. I will say, as far as firefighters and LEO go, I don't know about every other place, but it is, to an extent, part of the good old boys club. Especially
right. There's a lot of that.
Yeah. These guys have been in the service for 20, 25 years. It's been going on a long time. And it's absolutely, it's
private unions, and like you said, the brotherhood, a wink and a handshake and a nod,
that's all
it takes.
Yeah, to me it's it is, it's heartbreaking.
It's very disappointing to see people that you thought were good people reveal themselves to be not so good. I'm sure with you, these are people, like you said, you're fighting fires, you're laying your lives out to save property and people, and you have a bond, with those people, and then all of a sudden they turn on you.
Right. And after my mom died, my parents are dead, my grandparents are dead. I had a couple siblings. We don't talk. I'm fairly sure that they've gotten to them and have them. They know what's going on to an extent, but I really didn't have anybody, and I really, really counted on them, and they really drew me in good and got me with the bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
I use that a lot. The gaslightings, it's through the roof. Let me tell you, anymore.
So what were some examples of the gaslighting they did while you were on the job and even on a call?
Most of the gaslighting I got was actually from someone in an upper position I had kind of confided in, and I made a mistake doing that. And I'll say the one thing that he did help me with, he helped me get my sobriety together pretty quick. And he helped me get a personal relationship with God. But that turned south very quick when kind of as I figured out that he's involved in my situation. And it was because I came to him with information. I was telling him about my ex. This person as well has ties straight to the KBI. He told me that. And I told him, I said, I don't know what's going on. And he literally told me, he said, so you're saying your ex sat here and lied to me for 30 minutes? And I kind of said, well, what do you mean? When have you ever talked to my ex out here alone? You know, I know, I'm quite sure. I know that they've had contact and they've all worked together on my situation. Yeah, just stuff like that.
The one that tells you it was her ex that, was doing it to you was the one that was going around having conversations about how you were going to kill her and all of these other things.
Correct. Yeah, he stated to me that they had met, and I don't know if she, I've heard from my smear campaign that she said I was trafficking drugs, that I was trafficking kids.
Oh my gosh.
I'm half there to believe, after what's happened in my basement, that she was maybe trafficking drugs through my house when I was working 48, 72-hour shifts. I'd come home and it looked like someone had a party in my house. My basement's all torn up, it's just, it sucks. You know what I mean? It's just like they literally turn everybody, they pull you in, and then they just totally turn their backs on you. And like I said, I think I'm at this precipice where they thought I would probably unalive myself. And I haven't. And instead I dug my heels in and I did my research, and I've kind of figured out what's going on. I started contacting people in the government. I've written to Tulsi and, everybody, and this stuff's starting to come to light. And I think it's making some people nervous.
Right, because just days before today's podcast, you noticed an uptick in the harassment.
Big time. What would kind of get to the DEW side of these things. After I talked to my ex that night on the phone in the Bay, that was also the evening. I wasn't sleeping in private quarters because I wasn't on shift. I was just trying to stay out of my house because all the breaking in, it was crazy. And that's when I had my first loss of time. I remember being on the couch. I remember as plain as yesterday, I remember smelling like a chemical, like an organophosphate or something, like the duct worked or something. And I woke up the next morning. It wasn't too long after that, I started getting the zaps and the involuntary muscle movement. I don't have dyskinesia. I don't have any of that stuff. They really hit the back of my neck, like my traps. Keep those tight and give you migraines.
Yeah.
I also started getting really bad artificial tinnitus. And there were a couple times when I woke up in the morning and I had blood coming out of my ear due to the fact. I have done the megaphone test, and I've accrued 9 points on my body where it reacts. And these whatever's in there is shooting off a frequency back, which it shouldn't be. I know human anatomy enough that it's not right.
Did you just have the singular instance of the time loss, or did it happen multiple times?
It happened twice.
Yeah.
Another time I was at home, and I think I was in the bathtub, and that was just super. I remember having a loss of time and then kind of came to and feeling really groggy. I have talked to and sent a deposit to My Nexus Live, Jesse Beltran,
Mm-hmm.
to try and get some things solidified. Depending on obviously how things go, it, trying to get to him because he doesn't come around Kansas is difficult. So,
Do you think during these time loss events that maybe they were able to, I had the time loss in the beginning too. I think it was about 3 or 4 times straight consecutive. It was, and what was interesting about it is the first time it happened, and maybe again, I was probably too predictable with my routine. I wake up, get my laptop, check my mail after, going to the restroom, and then just sit there and look through my email. And literally from 1 second to the next, and 1 hour was gone. It was just like, boom. I looked at the clock and then looked at it again, and it was an hour gone. I was like, well, that is so crazy. So then now I was aware of it, and it happened the second day. And I had made sure that I set my alarm clock an hour earlier than what I would normally do, just in case it happened again, and it did. Yeah. So this happened several times, and I don't know if that is where they were conditioning me or to start receiving the directed energy, because it was around that time that I started having the auditory effect, the voice to skull. Right. And so I'm just wondering. I even had an instance where I went out with a friend, and it looked like someone that worked for that company. And we were going to hear live music. We had a beverage. I had to go to the bathroom. I came back. I drank my beverage. That person had communicated with her after I went to the restroom, her not really knowing or realizing that. And she said her drink, she had sensitive smell, and she was like, this don't smell right. And so she put it down. Mm-hmm. It felt a little weird, but within minutes after me coming back and taking another couple of sips of that, she said it was like, I was unplugged. I was down. Okay. And then 2 off-duty police officers, elderly guys, come up right where, it happened, offering to follow her to the hospital. And I did test positive for having the roofie drug in my bloodstream. Oh, wow. So I don't really know what happened, but again, I had time loss prior to that, and then I had that, and who knows, what was done during those times either. Right. So
that's so horrendous. It's terrible to think about. I've gotten the electronic rape. That's there's
just that's a level of sick that people would even do something like that to somebody.
Right. I've talked, many male TIs who get it, females as well. It's
they've done that to me. They even did that to my elderly mother. I mean, how perverse and sick can you be to be doing that to an elderly woman, an elderly widow, that survived cancer, and you're going to do something like that? Yeah. There's no moral clock going off in these people whatsoever.
And I know some people relate with this, like, when you consider yourself a survivor, and you see, at least in my situation, I see these same vehicles, same stalkers, depending on the day. They have this look about them. It's the way they kind of carry their mouth. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if they're trying to look mean or like you got. They want you to be paranoid. But once. If for example, like I was kind of able to do my research, like I said earlier, went to the TJ website and went through everything, and there's a gang stock. These people have a manual that they follow, right? Mm-hmm. A manual. If you go through that stuff, you can kind of start figuring out what what's going on.
How they tick, right?
How they-
There's the mechanics right there.
You kind of start seeing the elements of how corny what some of the
It
stuff.
really, it's so remedial. It is. It's like, really, somebody really wants to have buy-in in doing these type of things.
Right.
And for the community that has not seen that manual and is being gang stalked, I encourage you to go to Targeted Justice website and read it. It's eye-opening. By having that knowledge in front of you, knowledge is power, right? So then it disables the stronghold that this has over you, because you're understanding the mechanics, and because they're following it to a T. They can do. To me, I always see it as regurgitated same attempt. It's like sing song second verse. They're just really, there's no innovation in it, because they can't even think outside of that box, right? They're still doing the same old tired tricks, one right after another, expecting a different result, right?
Right. It's the COINTELPRO 2.0. It's on steroids, but it's once you can get past that, the weirdness of it, and you start getting down to like facts, your brain starts working with you a little bit, and you're just like, is it crazy? Yeah, a little bit, but it's silly. But you know what I mean?
So you get the directed energy.
I do. And I get it in my home, pretty strong. And there's been a couple people I've worked with, and I will say this is that they can come and do some of this through the electrical grid on your house.
Yeah.
It's fact now. I'm not making.
And did they change the type of wiring in your house?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Did they do copper? Some older homes had aluminum. What type of wiring did they redo? I mean, wiring is a really major thing.
Right.
It can be done within a couple of days, right? If you have enough crew, but you were away from your home at the time.
I was
come
away.
Back to new light fixtures, everything.
Yeah. It was thick. It's super thick electrical cable. There's a whole bunch of new junction boxes everywhere. It's strange, but kind of on the research I've done on that is that they're pushing some of this stuff through electrical grids in your smart meter. There's a couple of different processes they can use. I'm kind of still working with this, talking with this guy who's really pinning this stuff down. He's another target. I'm not sure where he lives, but GitHub. They use it's like a computer program that sends a signaling through your electrical grid, and they can also use something called AWS one box deployment. So they send these signals in through your electrical grid, and it can actually come out of, or they're starting to find it can come out of like your fans, overhead lights, and some people.
Absolutely, those LED lights. Yeah.
The other thing is that when I came back to my house, all my incandescents had
they
been
were gone, and LED was there.
Right. I was like, I definitely didn't do that.
They're just like doing this triangulation around you to make you, that where they could hone in on you and use your own house to attack you.
Yep. And that's exactly what they do. And my understanding is from this GitHub code or this AWS one box deployment code they send through. To some people, I talk or seen other targets talk about this. Like it literally comes out of your fan or your lights or your electrical sockets, and it looks like little blue orbs, and they kind of hit you in the face. You know what I mean? And that's the signaling bouncing off of you. So if you have like implants of some sort, it may be working with those. But I also believe, they work with your Wi-Fi as well, this electrical grid, to surveil you in your own home.
Yeah, Ring cameras. It's like it's like a little network a mesh network where it's connecting in
Yep.
and can single in on wherever you move within the house through
Correct.
the electrical.
And I just want to tell, other targets, if you get what I'm talking about, I'm not making this stuff up. Like this, I've seen on paper the patent our government has and is using this. So this isn't make-believe. None of this is make-believe. This is all happening. This is very real. This isn't a delusion. This isn't the standard they try to push when they came to the, weaponizing the psychological side of this program against targets. This isn't you being delusional. Schizophrenia didn't start at 40. You know what I mean?
No.
It's not all because we're talking about it. I heard this interview one time where this gentleman was playing this off as, well, there's an odd thing that occurs when a group of people are having sensitivity to electromagnetic frequencies and things, and they all tend to group together and then think they're being attacked. This isn't a think. This isn't a maybe. This is occurring. It's occurring. Our government is attacking us, and it's done through psychological warfare and through our electrical systems, our biofields, all that stuff. It's occurring, and it's blown up to the point now. It's coming out. I mean, it's being exposed. It's being exposed.
Their plan failed. They want people to be isolated and you to listen to, if you have the auditory effect with the voices, listen to the voices threats that if you take action, then this is going to happen to you. Or if you don't have the auditory effect, then your gang stalking and proxy stalking and all these other events are happening to you. Correct. As a way to try to, make you evoke that, fight, flight, freeze, fawn effect.
Exactly.
And that's the crust of these mind manipulation programs, right, is that they have to have our buy-in completely in order to have that reign all over us, right? And correct. It's hard to, I know that's hard to think. I have the directed energy too, and they just want to attack you more, thinking that is going to make you sit down and rethink and not get back up and keep moving. But we are not going to, lose the ground that we have right now, which is where everything is coming. Lots of things are coming to light.
Lots of things are coming to light.
Where people could not, previously even think that something like this could be hidden from the government. Well, we've had all of these things that came up recently this year that say, yeah, the government knew about that and was keeping it a secret. Yep. So to me, they have lost credibility in some regards with some of these agencies because they allowed that to happen. Absolutely. And we still don't get the full story. We get crumbs and, carrot dangles here and there with not true transparency. And that's where God has, they've opened up a pathway or, a portal for God to move through, because they say they're doing transparency and truth and all of this. And it's not matching up.
Right.
Then here we are with the deep roots of all of these, secret groups, societies, clusters of people, right? That right. are all involved with these unacknowledged special access programs right. that are, getting incentivized, they're getting monetarily, gift cards, whatever they're getting.
Right.
And they take, they take the bait, they don't do the research, they automatically assume that what is being told about a person, or maybe they just don't care, or they just want a gift card.
Right.
They're not, and they don't think for a second that these groups that enlist these people, they know exactly their target audience.
Oh
They
yeah,
know that these people that they reach out to are going to likely agree to whatever they ask of them.
absolutely.
So they and essentially they're themselves are targeted. Anyone that targets someone thinking that it isn't going to happen to them is drank the Kool-Aid and believes the lie, because there is no honor amongst thieves.
At all. And they want to roll this out on everybody. So
Nobody's immune to this.
no, absolutely not. I will tell you, had I never been through this, and I was somebody just kind of going along, I wouldn't believe it. I'm absolutely telling you, this is 100% real. I'm living through it. I'm trying to expose it. I will tell you another thing, like every locality has like a department of emergency management and things like that. They come from the top down in each state. Do your research. See, some of these neighborhood watch programs, even though it's through Citizen Corps and InfraGard, they have their own names. Like I said, ours here is called Citizens Academy. You can start looking up those programs, see who runs them, start putting the pieces together. Another big thing, as far as the being on the emergency first responder side of things, man, if you're a firefighter, if you're a medic and you work on an ambulance, if you're LEO and you're going through this, it's time to step up and shout, man. Like it's time to step up and tell everybody what is going on. Don't sit back and be complacent. Don't think you're crazy. You're not crazy. Don't do any, you know what I mean? Reach out.
Thousands upon thousands and thousands of people that will support you in this.
Absolutely. And I've made peace with the fact that at this point, after all the me blowing the whistle on everything, it's likely that I won't be firefighting again. That's okay. I'll always be a firefighter. I worked hard for this title.
Mm-hmm.
I did this to start helping people regardless. And this is where I'm at now. I just, like I said, I want LEO, firefighter, anybody out there, not just people in the emergency system. Reach out, say something, expose us. Don't be quiet. I don't know, like I kind of talked to you. I'm starting to have TIs reach out to me, and they're still putting people on this program, and they're fresh TIs. Like, what is this? What is going on? They're still doing it, and it absolutely has to stop. It has to stop. Absolutely has to stop.
I think it's very brave of you to come forward and speak about this. I know that, like you said, there are others just like you, in whether they're firefighter, EMS, all of them. I'm sure this is happening to people in the hospitals as well. It's all over. This is just such a global issue.
Firsthand that their emergency rooms are involved. There are nurses involved. There are doctors involved. There are psychiatrists involved. This is all. This is all the Biden era weaponization against us.
This is how it persists. So
this is our government weaponization, which thankfully, we got Tulsi in there and Dr. Baer and Richard Lighthouse and Anna. They're in there doing the good work, right? They're spent time in Washington, but don't just, we can all write Tulsi. You can email her. You can send certified mail. Don't, man. You know what I mean? It's just don't just sit back and suffer. That's what they want. They want to isolate you. They want you to suffer. They want to make you look wackadoodle. You know what I mean? That's their whole premise. It's at the point now, enough people are coming out that there's facts behind this. There's patents and research papers and all these things backing us up now that weren't
Yes.
there years previous. They're there now. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yes. I mean, flooded. It's so amazing how much information is out there, yet media is so controlled that they will not even speak on it, even though the patents prove it exists. The
Exactly.
stories that line up, they mirror one another. You know, they created this, what they felt was that perfect psyop to make people think that anyone being done to them is crazy.
Right.
And to be in disbelief and thinking that there's, of course, the mental component to it, but it's not. All of the people coming up having these same symptoms with the directed energy attacks and everything. There's too many. There's too many of us all around.
Exactly. It's the
And
thoughts overflowing for sure.
yes, and they're on guard, their livelihood, their involvement. There is much to be protected in this. They're fighting tooth and nail to try to keep it from bubbling up to the surface, but God's hands on it. This
Right.
cannot stay silent anymore. Not in this day and age. Not with all of this stuff moving forward.
Exactly.
And you know what? I see God's hand in bringing forward some of this information recently to, okay, you can't always trust. This is something that you believe that our government is here to protect us. And yet at the same time, they're proving that they're doing these things to protect some, but our voice is still not heard. But
Right.
it's heard more than what we think it is.
Exactly.
And that's why we have to share our stories, and we have to get out there. We have to contact. We got to be the squeaky wheel.
Exactly.
Kudos to Representative Loma for wanting to dismantle that Biden surveillance that was put in place over us.
Yes.
We've got to blow up these things because this is where we're hidden.
Right.
And we just have to get our message out there no matter what.
Absolutely.
Opposition is always going to be coming in at us. I mean, they infiltrate our events and our community at times. You can always tell by the disparaging juvenile comments that come through on these, but we just have to keep going. We know what the truth is.
Yes, absolutely. And I think as we continue forward, I think
yes,
we're going to start seeing some doors open here. So
what advice would you give our audience on how to navigate all of this? The proxy stalking, the directed energy, the ringing, and the property destruction. What has kept you moving forward, going through this, knowing that, you've got this, you're going to keep on making, positive, progressive steps?
The best thing I ever did was I reached out to another TI. I won't mention him by name. I think this person probably knows who they are. But he's in my area, and he's been going through this for 22 years. And he really listened to me, helped me figure some things out. He gave me advice on how to properly secure my home, which I would say, if you're having break-ins, properly secure your home. I know it sucks, and it's not the best advice because I'm a firefighter and you shouldn't do this. But if you got to screw your windows shut so they won't get in, screw your windows shut. Use the padlock and the hasp on your front door. Put a deadbolt on your back door. Make sure you have only one entrance and exit egress. That means use just one door. If you have a multi-level house, check the basement windows. They can find some pretty crafty ways to get in your house. I've learned that. Stuff you wouldn't believe, actually. Secondly, when it comes to the DWs, that I do a lot of grounding, like with my bare feet. We had kind of spoken previously about the grounding blanket, which I would love to get, but every time I order something or it comes through the mail off Amazon, it's always destroyed. So I kind of gave up on that piece to an extent. So for me, when I'm getting hit, it's always when I'm trying to go to sleep. And it's always right here. I wake up and like my base is cooked, but I use like it's like a gel ice pack, and it's thick, so it's water soluble. And if I put that, it seems to help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm recommending you do just that, but if you're having a hard time, it's worth trying.
Mm-hmm.
They also sell, like you said, the cooling gel cap you can buy and put on.
Mm-hmm.
I pray a lot. Not ashamed of that. Obviously, by any means, like I said, one positive thing, probably the only positive thing about this program, is I really had to dig deep to figure out my purpose here and basically stick around. And I feel like that's why I'm here. I'm here to help show off the rot and get it out of here. And, really gave me a second sense of purpose aside from doing the firefighting and stuff. Other things, I'm actually kind of currently working with somebody too, so I can figure out some of my hacking and who's been hacking all my devices. I'm so used to it that I'm not as worried about that now, but I'd like to see who and what, where, when and why kind of thing. Secure your device, obviously to the best of your ability. Hacking is something we all deal with. Some days are worse than others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trying to think about what else. I mean, really securing your house, that's going to help with some of your property destruction and things like that. Like I remember when it started at work and my coworkers started getting involved in this. They go in my personal Foot Locker in my quarters and they'd cut holes in all my socks, petty stuff like that. Or I'd have it in my duty officer uniform and they'd go and like cut the hem out of something that I just got, like a brand new duty jacket, silly stuff like that. But obviously securing your property, wherever it may be, can hopefully get rid of that. I myself in my house, I had security cameras before and they all got hacked.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up like game trail cameras because I have an SD card. They're not hooked to Wi-Fi. They're not hardwired, which if you're going to do your security, hardwire it. But I use those to the best of my ability. They've gotten past them, obviously, before in my home and erased all my pictures or whatever they did. But I still think it's better than, letting them.
And what type of camera was that again that you said?
Like a game trail camera.
Oh, yes, a game trail.
Yep, and you can get them fairly cheap. You can try to hide them to the best of your ability, mount them, whatever, but they use an SD card instead of Wi-Fi, so they can't hack them. If you can place them correctly, I'm not the most super technologically advanced guy on the planet. I tried to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is moving so rapidly; it's kind of hard to keep up anyway. But I think more than anything, I want to get across is that we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
150% going to cross the finish line together. And if you're dealing with this, don't suffer in silence. Like reach out. I know there's other firefighters, LEO, EMS. I know there's people everywhere that are suffering, and you don't have to do that. Just all you have to do is reach out. Just reach out to Targeted Justice. I'm on X. It's Kansas TI. Reach out to me. I'll do what I can to the best of my knowledge. I'm here to help shut this thing down to the best of my ability.
I really appreciate that and your bravery for sharing your story. And I hope that by you sharing what you have gone through, that other first responders will come forward as well so that their voice can be heard. I think within all around the world, especially with all the factors that come into play with the first responders and what they may see too. There's just no, in your case, it was just meeting the wrong person that had a connection to somebody who could easily do all of these things. And unfortunately, that's what happens when this kind of technology gets in the wrong hands.
Right. And it's been going on a long time. So there's a lot of
it's enough. Enough is enough. I mean,
it's time for to be done.
It is. It's time. I'm going to go through a couple of the comments. EC, let me bring up the one that, here we go. EC says, stay strong, brother. Been dealing with this for nearly 3 years. Slander, surveillance, constant following, street theater. It's called the whole 9 yards. Yes, absolutely.
The whole 9, man.
Yes. And he says, hang in there, brother. Once you do your research and learn about it and speaking with others, you start to learn a lot. Yes. God is in control. Absolutely. Exactly. Nick says they definitely don't like religion. That is true. That's why you've got to connect.
I will say,
God or higher power. You just have to. This is how you get through it.
Absolutely.
Yes. Mindy says witchcraft is involved as well. Not sure y'all are aware yet. Well, we understand. It's coming more and more about how much witchcraft and occult is all involved with all of this insidious stuff that's been going on, especially with children and trafficking and all of that. So
that's satanic. Straight up.
If you sell yourself over to the devil for fame, fortune, and notoriety, then you got to be prepared to pay
the piper.
Deal with the consequences of that. Let's see. Let's find another one. Nix says, I wish y'all would build a traveling support group for all TIs, but especially for those that are held down. When you're isolated, you feel like you're going through it alone. Yeah. And it is so tough. And I know that there have been, people who have reached out in meetings and such, and everybody's just going through it all. But I asked you, those that participate in the group chats and in the teleconferences and the podcasts, if there's someone in need, please help. And especially within your own area, if you're doing one that is localized, just help someone. I know there's just, for me, I work and then I do the podcast. I spend I do devote a lot of time to the podcast and the work that I do for the Chosen Heroes and Targeted Justice. And I just, being one person, I can't always answer everyone quickly. I struggle with that. And that's why I asked for some volunteers. But please, if you're in attendance in the calls and stuff, and you see that someone is really struggling, just reach out and be that lending ear. Let them share with you and lift them up, because more and more people are coming into awareness that this is happening to them. And just please help lift one another up. There was another one that I wanted to bring up here. Do you take any kind of, I see some stuff about supplements and stuff. Do you find anything helpful in that regard and help build your body up?
Like on the daily, I take, mess of things. I take lion's mane, first and foremost. I take dandelion root.
Mm-hmm.
I take something called nattokinase. I also take something called
nattokinase. That is for our nervous system, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Nattokinase. I take something called bromelain, and I also take turmeric curcumin, and that helps. Obviously,
all the anti-inflammatory help support and calm the nervous system. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I also, went through COVID as a first responder. I went and got the shot.
Mm-hmm.
I only got it twice. I think I got one booster, but that nattokinase, that bromelain, and the turmeric curcumin helps that spike protein from getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think a 3-month period, it can start eliminating it from your body to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
It's worked very well for me. It's cut down on my DW stuff. Something else I take is glutathione.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kind of an antioxidant. NAC is kind of the precursor to glutathione, so they kind of work together really well.
Mm-hmm.
That'll cut down on some of the DW effectiveness, I should say. I take vitamin D3.
Yes.
I take magnesium.
Absolutely.
I think there's probably a couple other things.
Yeah, magnesium, we get very depleted with all of these.
Yes, and I
Directed
stay
energy.
super hydrated.
Yes, you have.
Drink water 24/7.
Yes.
All the time. Lots of tea.
Electrolytes, if you're feeling extremely, dehydrated.
Yes.
I know when I wake up, my mouth is dry, my nose is dried out from all of the shenanigans.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you just have to. Water's your best friend,
Yes.
not stuff with a bunch of additives or anything like that. You just need good old water to help you out. I also put trace minerals in my water also. You have to just try your best to support your body going through all of this attack.
Yeah, we get it extra special. we get it extra. That's for sure.
Let's see. Let's take one more. 702 FISA survivor. Could you put a list of the vitamins, please? Yes. What I could do is I could put it on a post too.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Yes,
I think I'm friends with her on X actually. So I have to.
Okay. All right. Well, if you'll send it to me, and then I'll post it out on X too. And
Beautiful.
if you're not on X,
I'll do that.
Just reach out to me at chosen_heroes and just say vitamin list that Sterling mentioned on the show today.
Absolutely.
And I'll send you an email. All right. Let's see. One more here. Yeah, lion's mane. I've heard a lot of good things. And again, always, if you're seeing a doctor, you might want to mention it to them. Make sure that it's not going to have an adverse reaction to you. Make sure you do your research on anything that is supplement related. Just because it's supplement and natural doesn't mean that it's not going to counteract with any kind of medication and such that you might have. So just do some research for your own safety.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's a person saying, "Oh my God, they steal my socks." See, I mean, it's just the petty things that they do to just irritate and to make you like second guess yourself, and you're just running around going, "Where did I put that? I know it was there."
I've had I've had T-shirts disappear.
Yeah.
And then come back like 2 days later. Like I'll go and work a shift, and I'll come back and I'll be like. Right where I lost it. Okay.
Yes.
Nice one.
Yeah, and Krista says it's petty stuff. Enemy is petty, but I remind myself that he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Exactly. We just have to see through these tactics and the patterns that these predative people, operate in, and really they are extremely pattern driven. And to me, as you said too, they are most effective in the beginning stages.
Yes.
But then once you start to understand that, okay, this is, yesterday's news being repeated and reserved on a different platter, it all really is pattern driven. What you have to understand is truth cuts through lies and deceptions and manipulation. You know the truth. Stop if you find yourself second guessing yourself, stop yourself in your tracks. You know what is the truth. Right. Don't let them pigeonhole you or get you stumbling or second guessing yourself, because that's a motive and a tactic that they use. When they start doing the repetitive phrases over and over again, what they're attempting to do is trying to brainwash you, meaning they're trying to make and create new memories within that they are replacing your memories by trying to rewrite something. So
Yes.
we have to be really cognizant when we hear these things. And again, the best defense is, tell yourself every day, lay hands on your head and create that ultimate firewall, which is your subconscious, to nullify, neutralize any lie, deception, words, subliminal programming, any frequencies, any technologies that are being used against your body, your biofield, your brain, and neutralize it. It will become your mantra because you are teaching your subconscious and bringing forward it into conscious awareness that you will not react or be baited by anything that is not of the light and the truth.
Absolutely. 150%.
Well, Sterling, thank you again so much for joining us today. You've been as wide, and you have given hope and encouragement to those who may be a first responder and going through similar symptoms. Our voice is our strongest weapon. We have to continue bringing awareness. And again, thank you for being so brave to share your story today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the platform to do it on. It's really, I've been listening to you for a while, and it's pretty fantastic what you're doing. And I sincerely appreciate it.
Oh, and thank you. And thank each and every one of you. And again, those that are mothers and out there, happy Mother's Day to you, and God bless. I pray victory over each and every person that is subjected to these heinous human crimes, and the exposure is forthcoming. God bless. Thank you all.